Hi guys, welcome all of the viewers. Hope you all are having a good time. And this is the release of another helpful practical video for you if you are looking to get into the industry as a programmer. So welcome to another video of this video lecture series on mobile apps iOS, Objective-C, programming and software development. So this video practical and the lecture is about developing a simple calculator GUI. GUI means a calculator graphical user interface app, and event handling in Objective-C. So it's going to be a mobile app developed in Objective-C. And a very quick overview of the presenter. So I have 20 years of experience as a developer in the industry, as a programmer, software developer, engineer, and also 20 years of experience as a lecturer in many universities. So that helps a lot for our viewers to get a in-depth and a very practical knowledge about what they are listening to. And the teaching and learning technique in this video series is kind of very important for you to know, because the teaching and learning technique is something it's very special which we use is to show you how industrial developers do their tasks. So that's what you are going to experience as a learner looking at this. So for the viewers of this video series, the objective is for the viewers of this video series to become independent and being ready to go and work in the industry. And hence, because of that, we are using a style where industry developers and programmers are using in their day-to-day life. You will see how when I do the practical, that's how I do it. And you will learn a lot from that style. And this style is going to be, what's this style? It's going to be like a reference based, meaning referencing APIs and internet materials, the Apple developer, materials, and getting things done. And the goal is for you to become an independent developer, programmer in a short period of time, and trust me, you will be getting it right. Okay, so moving into straight away into the practical. So what I will be doing is I will be give me a second. I'm going to load a few things on my app. Cool. Right. So I got my stuff ready. Okay, just give me a sec. Right. Okay, so straight away what I would do is I would so the video the practical will be done in Objective-C. So what I will do is I will go into Xcode and start developing my interface first. So what I will be doing, and one more thing before I start, this series of there are a series of videos in this lecture series, and if you have missed anything, you can look at the previous videos, right? So they are short videos covering different sections. So if you need some aspects which you have been missing, which you can't understand when you look at this video, look at our previous videos in this video series. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new project, file, new project, and this time I'm going to develop a iOS mobile app, a single view app. So I will click next, and the product name I'll say example 2, will say calculator, a GUI, graphical user interface app, right? And make sure its language is Objective-C, and click next. Say create, right? So it creates basic skeleton code, some classes, and the landing page of the IDE, meaning in the IDE, and then you can see the main storyboard. So basically I'm going to click on the main storyboard. Right, and so I got a empty view controller. So you can see it's a view controller. You can see in the property attribute inspector, it shows it as a view controller. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to design the user interface first, right? So I need to get the library. So as you are aware, I would say view show library, or I can say shift command L, right? So if I say shift command L, it loads a library. So I'm going to put a label first place, right? So a label, and I'm going to just increase this a bit, and I'm going to call this going to set the text of the label as say my calculator. So this part is quite straightforward, which nothing fancy, but let's put something very quick, and let's put a quick font here, like something, for the initial part, and let's say the style is going to be bold, right? Something like that. Okay, cool. Quick thing. And then let's place it on the placement guidelines. Okay, so my calculator, and then I need a couple of labels. So once again, I'm going to the library and getting a label. I'm going to put it as say number one. It's a calculator program, and once again, let us say okay, using some color. Then let's say okay 20. Let's say bold, right? So okay, cool. And then what I want to do is I want the same features to be in the other label. So I'm going to copy this by pressing Command C and pressing Command V, right? So I'm pasting Command V. So I pasted two more of those labels. I'm just going to place them. I'm just going to call this as say number 2, and this as the answer, right? So the GUI part. So I got that, and then I need to enter data. So I need text entry. So once again, I'm going to the library, getting the text field, right? Say one of them, and probably then copy. Easy, like just get it copied. So you can see what you see can see is the placement guidelines, just to give you idea where where it gets aligned to. Okay, I got that, and then I need the buttons, right? So I'm going to go to the library once again, and I'm going to get the buttons. So I'm going to get one button, and I'm going to call it as say the plus button, and I would like to give some effects for the button. So I would probably give a larger font size, yeah, something like this, and make it bold. Done. And then probably give a background color, right? So just on the attribute inspector, I'm scrolling on the attribute inspector for the background, so I will just select some background color, right? So let's say something like this, right? So I got that clicked, right? Okay, so maybe make it a little large, something like this. Got one. So I'm going to copy this, copy and paste, paste, paste. So I got a couple of buttons now having the same properties, the same colors, and then two more. Let's say, yeah, clear, yeah, like a reset, right? So this is going to be my subtract button, and this is going to be my multiply button, and this is going to be my divide button, and let us say this is going to be the clear button, right? Okay, clear. Right, now I got my basic interface. I would like to run and see it how it looks. So when I click on the run button over here, you can see my mouse. One important thing I forgot, like now if you look at over here while it's getting started, I'm building on iPhone 11 design layout, but the emulator over here, look at the mouse at the top, it's going to run on iPhone SE. So there will be a difference of the placements and stuff like that. So what I would like to do to start with is I would like to, it's coming, but I would like to exit the simulator, and I would like to select the runtime view also from here by clicking into the iPhone 11. And later on we will discuss about universal application design. That's going to be another video about how you could tackle, you develop one interface to so that it suits multiple devices and different screen sizes. So once, so it looks fine. I'm going to run this, and you will see on the simulator that it loads and the calculator comes, right? So the basics first, and then I would like to make it look little attractive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and get a image which I'm going to place onto this. So I'm going to Google, I'm going to search for image, so I'm going to search for a calculator, let's say a calculator cartoon kind of a thing, right? Calculator kind of a cartoon, right? So this is just for testing purpose. So you have to make sure that if you're going for production and all, you have to use you have to follow the copyright rules, and you have to make sure that you don't violate the copyright rules when it comes to the images and stuff like that. So I'm going to discard this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to yeah, I'm going to get a couple of images, which looks like a calculator cartoon, right? So I'm just going to get this one, right? And I'm going to place it on the map. So I'm going to right click. I'm going to right click on this image and I'm going to save the image, right, into my downloads, and I'm going to call it as calculator image, img, right? Calculator image. It's image 1. It's going to be in my downloads folder. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to my Xcode and I'm going to add the image into the project. So I'm going to right click and say add files into the project, and from my downloads I'm going to get that image which I download, calculate image 1, and I'm going to add it to the project. So you can see it's here, over here. So if I click on it once again, I'm going to click on the main storyboard and I want to place the image, over here. So what I'm going to do is from the library, so basically view show library, or same thing is shift command L, I'm going to get an image view. So I'm going to place the image view, and onto the image view on the attribute inspector, on the image property over here, I'm going to select the calculator image which I loaded. So now I'm going to place this here on the placement guidelines, and I'm going to run this. So it looks a little nice. Now it's not boring, right? Because as developers we like it to be a little bit attractive, right? So let's see. Build succeeded. Okay, cool. You can see a simple calculator. Now the important thing is when I enter the numbers over here and click the plus button, it does not calculate or the clear. So let's start with the clear button, right? So so this is our second video on GUI development. First video was like a simple hello world app, and in that first video we did not do any event handling. So clicking the button is like event handling, so we did not do any event handling. So in terms of event handling, this is the first video, right? So how do you do event handling? Like when I say event handling, click event. So basically what you do is you have to do a couple of things. First thing, the code, you have to understand where the code will be written. The code will be written in the corresponding .m file or the view controller file for this GUI, right? So how do you find what that file is? So what that file is, you could find it by just clicking. If you go to your storyboard, if you go to and just click on the view controller, and if there are a couple of now what at the moment I'm in attribute inspector, right? So I have identity inspector. So when I click on identity inspector over here, you can see this view controller is connecting to a class called view controller over here. Look at my mouse. So what is this view controller? That view controller is what you see over here. Look at the left hand side now, the view controller.h and the view controller.m. So this is where the source code will be written. It's very important for you to understand that, right? So from the storyboard, if you click on the view controller and if you look at this particular tab, identity inspector, you can see it's the custom class is view controller. So now you know the code for this button will be written inside this class view controller, and that is this view controller.h and view controller.m, right? Now how do you write the coding? For that there's a small thing to be done. We call it as using the assistant editors, right? So I'm going to get some space from this side and from this side. I just got some space by, and then I'm going to click on this adjust editor options, right? And I'm going to say that I would like to get assistant editor in place. So give me a second, just clicking a few things. I'm going to get back into my main storyboard view controller, and I'm going to remove this. So I got it here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the button once again and then just click on this, and let's look what are the options, right? So I got assistant over here, right? So when I click on this icon over here, adjust editor options, I can see assistant. So when I click on assistant, what's happening is I'm getting that particular corresponding file. I showed you that GUI is attached in the identity inspector into a custom class called view controller. I showed it earlier. This is that class, right? So when you load your assistant editor, this is what happens. It will bring the GUI and the coding side by side, so it makes it easy for you. And one more thing, now before I come into this, I'm going to go back I'm going to close this assistant editor once again, just click, and I need to do a few more things. One important thing is I'm going to get that inspector back, by clicking this corner mouse over here. I need to give some meaningful names. So once again, in the identity inspector, right? So I'm going to look at what the identity of this object. So few things. I got couple of tabs here. One is the file inspector. We'll be using the history, and you got a quick help if you want to know about the text box. So it's important for you to know about these tabs, and this is the identity inspector, which talks about, we'll be using all of them, in due course, in due time to come. So now how should I give a meaningful ID into this? So that what I'm going to do is I'm going to click once again. I'm going to click on the adjust editor. Okay, I'm going to get some space first, then I'm going to click here and say adjust show the assistant, right? And how I will be doing it is, well, I need to, first of all, from the code I need to have a method like add or clear, and then from the clear method I need to clear the text boxes. So I need to have two things. One thing is a clear method, then the other thing is I need to access the three text fields. So I need to give a ID for the three text fields so that I can access it from the method. So how do you give the ID? What you do is you click on the text field and you press the control key on your keyboard. So while you are pressing the control key, now I'm holding the control key pressed, don't release it. While pressing it, drag this from the GUI, from the storyboard into the source code view controller, and this is a property, so it's going to generate a property. So as you know, the properties will be declared, in the interface. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it to the interface section, right? And when you drag it, and now I release the mouse and the control key, it's asking the name or the ID of it, right? So I'm going to call this as, say, txt number 1 or t1, like text 1, t1 I would say, right? And it's getting created as outlet and some properties. Let's look at them later, and click connect. So the moment you click connect, it creates a corresponding property called t1, where this is linked to this text box. So if you refer from your code, if you refer to t1, it's going to refer to that GUI text box. Same I'm going to do for the text 2. So how do we do it, right? Recall what I said. Press the control key. While holding the control key, drag this into the property section and call it as whatever the name you prefer. I will call it as t2, right? Then same this one, t1, t2, this is like the third text box. Control and drag, and I'll call it as, say, t3, right? And click connect. So I got three properties, t1, t2, t3. So I'm going to close the assistant editor now, just to show you something. So this is my calculator screen, right? And then where did I drag them? As you understood, it's the corresponding file is, as I showed in the identity inspector, it's viewcontroller.h&m. So in the viewcontroller.m, you can see those three in the interface. Those three properties are created. I just click and keep says those three properties. So you just dragged and created them. Once again, I'm going to go to the storyboard. Now what's missing? What's next? What's next is the click event. So I'm going to write the click event, and this technique is the same. So when you write the click event, you just click on this, click on the assistant, get the assistant editor. But this time you are going to drag the button, right? And where do you drag? It's an event. So event is a method, and the method body has to be written. So that has to go into the implementation of this class. So the class is view controller. This is the interface, and this is the implementation. So if you want to know about classes and interfaces and implementation, look at one of the previous videos in this video series, which we talk about classes and its interface and its implementation. But for now, the focus is, even if you are new, don't worry, just follow this tutorial and just focus as our first GUI with event handling, right? And whatever the missing knowledge, you get it from our previous videos in the video series later, right? Still you can manage this. So how do I do this is, I have to make sure that I have good implementation. So I'm going to, same technique, click on the control button. While pressing the control button, you drag it this time into the implementation, right? Not to the interface. You drag it to the implementation and release it. And this time it's action. It's not outlet. It's action, right? So and the name is the name of the action or the name of the method, right? So I would like to call it as clear clicked. I would say clear button clicked, right? Or clear clicked, something meaningful, clear clicked, and say connect. The moment you say, it creates a method. See, now if you are new to methods in Objective C, if you can't understand the syntax of a method, this syntax, look at one of the previous videos which we just talk only about methods, right? But for now, have a look at this. Now I just dragged it, and now what I can do is just close this, and then if I go into view controller.m, you can see that method is generated, and it's an instance method. That's why it's minus. So I got the files ready, the control.m. So I got an instance method returning IB action, and the method name is clear clicked, and this is the default parameter when it comes for event handling of a click event. So I'm going to write the code. Now from this code, what do I want to do? First thing, I'm going to put some comments and say, okay, access the three text boxes, text fields, right? And then the next thing is access them and call the clear method. So how do you access, how do you call a method? So again, look at one of our previous videos if you are new. So it's basically message passing, and how you do it is, we have taught in our previous videos. You have to put square brackets if you want to access a method and call a method, meaning message passing, and then you tell the object name. So the object is T1, right? Over here. So you say T1, and now you need to know what method to call, right? What method to call if you are referring to this. Now once again, it's talking about use of undeclared identifier T1, because when you have properties, if you have look at some of our previous videos, you will understand there's a way of accessing the properties, right? There's a way of accessing the properties. So for you to understand that, you'll have to look at some of our previous videos where, now if you have done if you have done programming in some of the previous, some of the other languages, you will realize that Objective C is different than to what you have normally seen. Objective C is different to something what you have normally seen with respect to other languages. So let me show it with some referencing. So now what you want to do is, you want to refer into, say, the property T1, but the question is, how do you refer into the property T1, right? So if you look at some of our previous videos, you will see that I was telling something called underscore T1, right? So what is underscore T1? That is something very important for you to understand, and I think in even one of our previous videos you might have seen it, because we did something very simple. Let me try to bring it back. Where is it? Maybe this one. Yeah, so I did one of the previous videos about using these properties and getters and setters. You can have a look at it later, right? In this video series in the chain. So this, to refer to the internal, to refer to the properties internally, you will be using them through connected instance variables, right? So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to refer, let us say T1. T1 now, if you are new, T1 is where I'm trying to refer to an instance variable T1, which is corresponding to the property T1, right? Now I need to know, okay, if just assume like this, right? But before making things complicated, just assume that this T1 is referring to this property T1, and I will explain how it's happening in a little while. But for now, just assume that this T1 is referring to this T1. Now if this underscore T1 is referring to the property T1, then I have access to the say the text field T1. Now I need to clear it. Now at the beginning of this video and throughout this whole video series, we have told you very clearly that we are going to make you look at things as real world developers. Now if you are a real world developer, and if you are using this language, and if you are using multiple languages, you don't by heart the syntax, right? So if you are working with Python, if you are working with say some machine learning, R Studio, and the syntaxes are very different, right? And Java or .NET. So what you do is, and what we are training you in this video series is, lecture series is, practical series is, to make you work as an independent developer, and to make you ready for the industry. So what do you do now is, you need to know how to clear a text box, right, in Objective C. So what you do is, even this is what you do if you are working in the industry. You'll open a browser, and we have done shown this in earlier lectures as well, and you will say Objective C, right? Objective C text field, right? You will say Objective C text field clear, right? So UI text field clear.